Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a classic tale that, honestly, you probably think you already know inside out. We're looking at the Gigglebox telling of the three Billy Goats Gruff. But hey, we aren't just reading a fairy tale here. We're going to really analyze this story, because surprisingly, it is an absolute masterclass in escalating sibling bravery and tactical strategy. So, let's dive right into this really fascinating question. How exactly do three starving siblings outsmart an apex predator? I mean, it's the ultimate underdog scenario, right? We're going to examine the incredibly unique, escalating character dynamics at play on what, at first glance, just seems like a peaceful grassy hillside. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the Grazing Crisis. To really understand their strategy, we've got to look at the inciting incident that literally forces these brothers into action. So the three brothers, they spend their days happily munching grass and drinking cool water, but then, boom, step one hits. They eat every last blade of grass on their hillside. They are completely out of food. Then, step two, they spot this lush, amazing meadow across the river, just filled with delicious grass. Survival is literally in sight. But, there's a catch. Step three. To get there, they have to confront a dangerous wooden bridge guarded by a horrible, smelly troll. And this just perfectly sets up their dilemma, right? Starvation drives the brothers to face this monster whose absolute favorite thing to eat in the whole wide world is, well, Billy Goat. Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. Moving right along to Section 2, Bravery through Brains. Let's look at how this builds into our first real example of courage, where the two younger siblings have to rely purely on intellectual bravery just to survive. The brothers have a massive decision to make. Who crosses first? Well, the youngest steps up. He goes clippity-clop, actively trying to sound brave as he announces his intentions. And remember, this little guy is terrified. He's staring down a literal monster with green skin, a long crooked nose, warts, and sharp yellow teeth. But he takes a deep breath to feign absolute confidence as the first mover. Honestly, that takes an immense amount of guts. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast between these two approaches. You've got the troll's brute intimidation, "I'm gonna eat you instead," going head-to-head with the young, scared goat's smart, psychological diversion to save his own skin. He tells the troll, "I'm the smallest, just wait for my older brother." It's brilliant. He appeals directly to the troll's greed, essentially neutralizing a huge physical threat with pure intellect. So after watching his younger brother cross safely over to that lush meadow, the middle goat steps onto the wooden bridge. He knows exactly what's required of him now. He has to maintain the family's tactical ruse. If he panics or messes up the script, the whole plan falls apart entirely. And just like his younger brother, the middle Billy Goat is shaking in his hooves, but he uses his brains to escalate the stakes. He essentially tells the troll, "Look, you'd be making a huge mistake if you don't wait just a short while. My older brother, he'd certainly make the best meal." He flawlessly convinces this predator that an even greater, much more delicious prize is just around the corner. It's a perfect example of sustained sibling teamwork under extreme pressure. Which brings us to Section 3, Bravery through Brawn. Those first two intellectual, tactical maneuvers, they perfectly set the stage for the final act of courage by the eldest sibling. Let's trace how this dynamic completely shifts. By tracking the sequence of the crossings, we can see how the tension escalates directly toward a massive climactic moment. The first cross sets the bait, using tactical intellect. Then, the second cross escalates the bluff, drawing that vile troll up onto the bridge for a second time. This continuous buildup creates this huge expectation for the troll, bringing him out a third time, which perfectly sets up the third crossing, the actual physical confrontation. And here is exactly where the strategy pivots entirely. The great big Billy Goat Gruff was not afraid. Seriously, unlike the incredibly smart but utterly terrified younger goats, this big brother possessed a completely different mindset. He saw his siblings safely across, he stepped onto that bridge, and he had absolutely zero fear of the terrible troll. None at all. This moment just brilliantly illustrates his sheer physical courage. He stamped his hooves, he lowered his great big horns, he charged at the troll, and crash. He rammed the troll right off the bridge. It's a decisive, no-nonsense combat sequence. By leaning into his own unique strength, he sends that vile, ugly, smelly troll splashing into the river with a massive splash, never to be seen again. All right, let's wrap things up with Section 4, Lessons in Sibling Courage. We've seen exactly how each brother faced the threat, so let's synthesize what this actually means for the collective survival of the family. and what we can take away from it. The younger siblings utilized brains, right? Tactical intellect and a sustained bluff, just to stay alive. This essentially set a trap, which allowed the eldest brother to use brawn, physical combat, to permanently eliminate the threat for all of them. Because they worked together and played to their very specific forms of bravery, they ensured that all three of them could spend the rest of their days happily munching green grass and drinking cool water from the river. As we finish up this explainer, I really want you to consider the obstacles in your own life. When you're facing your own bridges, which type of goat bravery do you actually rely on? Do you need the intellectual courage to strategically bluff your way through a crisis? Or do you need the bold, physical courage to lower your horns and charge right at it? It's definitely something to think about the next time a troll is standing in your way. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.